who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Wow Report. I'm here with Tom Campbell, twisted mind behind RuPaul's Drag Race and Chief Creative Officer.
Hello, Fenton.
Good morning, Tom.
Hello.
How are you? And best-selling author, editor of the Wow Report, James St. James.
Hello.
So, we're coming to you from our new street side studio, very glamorous. You can listen to the show on SiriusXM. You can also watch it on the Wow Report, www.worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy. URLs are the hardest thing. Anyway, without further ado, so we count down the top 10 things that made us go, wow, this week. And without further ado, Tom, number 10.
Number 10.
Well, I think we have to talk about what happened here in Los Angeles on Sunday, which was the first ever Resist March. LA, in conjunction with Gay Pride. Mm-hmm. It was the 47th annual Gay Pride. The first LA Gay Pride took place in 1970. It was the same as New York. It was the year after the Stonewall riots in commemoration. Huh. It happened in West Hollywood Park in San Vicente, and boy, has it grown. And there's always controversy about Gay Pride from outside and inside the gay community, right? Because, in the past years, that it's dykes on bikes and guys with leather chaps with their asses, and mainstream media sort of in the past has liked to sort of shoot it, and kind of it sort of resonates as like, look at all those freaks.
These kooks.
Right.
And by the way, we are freaks, so get used to it. Mm-hmm. But and then within the gay community in the past, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, it's sort of like it didn't seem to, in LA anyway, to reinvent itself. It felt like
the air was going out of the tire, right?
And a lot of the older people kept saying, we've done this. What's new? Why are we doing this still?
Yeah.
It feels like we've had a lot of advancements in the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
That post-gay thing.
And so this year, Brian Pendleton, who we worked with, in helping him a little bit with our queens and whatever, he decided, in the spirit of all these marches, let's do a Resist March. And
it seemed like the perfect time for it.
To his credit, he has a background in fundraising, and he's a really charismatic guy. And, bringing all of the different factions of gay together, I can't imagine what that was like, you know what I'm saying, in terms of all the colors of the rainbow and all the political factions. But he did, and I think there was some controversy. He may have stepped on some toes, but you know what? He got it done. There was a fantastic march that we all experienced from different angles. Also, Jeff Old, who works at E!, was really responsible for helping book some of the talent.
I do want to say, too, that this was in conjunction with another Pride March that was going on in D.C., and a number of places around the country had decided that this was the year that they wanted to sort of mobilize everybody and get the young people out there, marching for the good of the community.
I went at the very beginning.
It started at Hollywood and Highland, right
just
near here.
Up the street from our street side studio.
That's right.
And it was an incredible, colorful crowd. It was just like every. My thing about Pride is it's every color, every stripe, every combination. Yeah. And I felt that crowd. Sunday morning. It was Sunday morning, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were really like they embodied that. It was the most fantastic.
It's children.
Mix.
It's allies. Yeah. It's color. And the Dykes on Bikes did lead the parade.
They did.
Well, I know that on Thursday we had a pizza party here at WOW, and we all made signs to carry in it. So a lot of people from World of Wonder were there carrying their signs. You better work. You better sashay away 45.
There was a lot of Michael Pressman used to work at World of Wonder. Was at the DC Pride, and he wrote me a note saying that 10% of the signs in DC were RuPaul Drag Race.
Yes. There are. It does lend itself to a lot of really fun. I'm
sorry,
quotes.
my dear Donald Trump, but it's the time. You're up for elimination.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who Rosie Ruiz is?
No.
1,000 years ago in the Boston Marathon, she finished incredible time.
Oh, right, sure.
And they realized that she had cheated and taken the subway to the end.
Oh, no, I didn't know. I don't know about this story.
I was the Rosie Ruiz of the march because I was in West Hollywood early in the morning for an anonymous meeting. Let's just leave it at that. And
so sort of hookup? No.
No.
Oh, James, you got a phone
I love
call.
it. So that's okay. So I was already in West Hollywood. The march already stopped, so I just waited there. And I kind of went. The march went from Hollywood and Highland like 3 miles to West Hollywood. I just went from Robertson to La Cienega and then went back. But it was beautiful. And the thing is that sometimes at Gay Pride, there's the muscle guys, right? There's the leather people, there's the dykes on bikes, and not everybody always mixes, or people feel intimidated, or people feel like it's over-sexualized. Everybody, because of the signs and because of the unified message and the unified fight and resistance, everyone was looking at everybody, smiling. It's intoxicating. When I went to the march in Washington for Women's
I don't
March,
know that I still felt intimidated.
Oh, did
by
you?
Yeah,
What,
I still
James?
felt like a bag of potatoes next to some of the guys there, because there are some just absolutely stunning men.
But people were connecting eyes to me in a way that it wasn't like you were cruising. It's like we were all in this together. We were all amused and moved by the message. I felt that.
You know what? One sort of. Not a sort of bum note, or just something I thought was interesting was that while the speeches were going on, this one lone person arrived with an enormously loud megaphone and was chanting, "No Sharia law, you gays are going to hell." And it was interesting because it was a single person, and he was able to walk ahead of the Pride Parade and shout loud and clear, and it just struck me as a metaphor of what we're up against. That there are other people who play dirty and who cheat and who manage to grab the attention, and it's just so important that we somehow figure out some way not to be
intimidated.
Not to be intimidated, for sure. I mean, weirdly, I thought that guy was kind of brave, because you wouldn't get me braving a mob of 100,000 people, calling them sodomites and Satanists.
Or if we were in front of like an NRA crowd when we got up there and started,
I wouldn't do it. And so, and you know, of course, they had police protection, but it was just interesting to me. Like, we've got to be smarter about the way we resist. And that's not to critique the march at all. I think it was brilliant, actually, to turn the parade into a march. That's an example of the right sort of proactivism, but we're up against a very dedicated bunch of rule breakers, and we just have to be as maximally inventive and aggressive, I think. Not to incite violence, but aggressive in a sort of creative way.
Well, it was interesting because I got to see Maxine Waters speak. I didn't get a chance to watch RuPaul, but I've watched it since then.
Yeah.
And watching Maxine, who is so invigorating and so
anti-Maxine,
who you just wish that she could be the next president. You just wish that she would run. Nancy Pelosi was there. She spoke too. That was really fun. And Adam Schiff, yes, who we love. He's one of our local senators.
Reps. Right?
Yeah, reps. Nancy Pelosi was like dancing and running through the crowd and like sort of shaking, shimmying. That was really fun to watch her sort of let loose and everything. So that to me was the highlight for me. That was exciting.
And I'll just end with this: that RuPaul gave an address at the Hollywood Highland beginning. Gave a beautiful, impassioned, sober, fabulous. Everybody say love speech.
Yes.
And then in the other end, at the end of the thing in West Hollywood, Eureka from season 9 and Morgan McMichaels from season 3
see that.
did a lip sync for their life on the main stage, and it was probably the most entertaining part of the entire event.
I think it was at the main stage that you had to pay for. I didn't pay for it.
I think it was there for everyone.
Was it? Wasn't there? Isn't there still the VIP section?
Yes. Well, there's not VIP, but there's still the festival and the booze and the booze.
Right. Which I did not go to. No, yes.
No.
Okay.
They missed you.
I was very good this year.
All right. So let's move on to number 9.
Number 9.
James.
Number 9,
What do we got
I
first?
saw the Sarah Silverman special on Netflix, which is A Speck of Dust, which just came out. And I love
her.
Sarah Silverman. I love her to death. You know, I follow her on Twitter and everything like that. And she's funny, but she really excels in these sort of long-form specials that she does. There was the one that she did, Jesus is Magic. Yes. She's usually known for her very sort of shocking humor. You know, she does a lot of Holocaust jokes and abortion jokes and things like that. But she's really toned herself down a little for this. She's a little more introspective, a little more relaxed. Someone compared her to an edgier Garrison Keillor, Was one
the new Garrison Keillor. We need one. No offense.
We need one. Yes. She has this new way of sort of pointing out the mechanics of a joke as she's telling it.
It's true.
And it's really. She's like, now watch what I'm about to do right here, and she's sort of telling all these jokes and everything like that. She's still sort of edgy, and she still has that sort of like shocking humor. She did this one thing about I have Angelina Jolie's lips in my underwear. It was like, and she did this one sort of. I know. I'm sorry.
It's hilarious.
She did this one extended piece about how squirrels are these sort of like coked out, paranoid rats, and how they lose. This is a fact that they lose 80% of the nuts that they bury, the acorns and everything like that. And so they're just like these crazed like rats that run around, and they're all like.
Sounds like us, James.
How do they lose
that? James, hey, squirrel friend.
How do they lose their nuts? I'm sorry,
I forget where they left them.
No, because they go. They're all like crazy paranoid freaks, and they go around burying like thousands of nuts, and then they only remember where 20% are later when they need them, and so they're like these.
Can't they smell the nuts?
No. And apparently this is how forests are born, because so many squirrels go around losing their acorns that they grow into trees because the squirrels can't find them. It's absolutely fascinating.
May I ask you a question because I haven't seen it? During the election, she was incredibly political.
Yeah.
She's very outspoken. Is there political stuff in this
There
special?
is a few, but it's not quite as political as you thought it was going to be. I went into it thinking it was going to be all Trump bashing and everything. It really isn't.
Well, good for her.
Yeah, there's she's surprisingly beautiful. Every time
she's
see
gorgeous.
She is.
She's a movie star.
She's like an old movie, like a 40s like.
And it really just, I mean, I saw some pictures of her on the red carpet the other day, and I just thought you're right, like a 40s movie star. And you wish that there would be movie roles for her, because I think that she could really, she really is. She's just amazing.
She is great. So the special's on Netflix, right?
Yes, it's called A Speck of Dust.
Because I have a Netflix question, and we talk about Netflix all the time.
I'm sorry.
We're of that age.
sorry.
We're of that age. We're watching Netflix at home.
You know, like it used to be that. I'm wondering if the sort of the buzz or eventiness of things is evaporating when everything's on the mega platform, and it's like I hadn't heard anything about her special. Like, has it been buzzy? That's what I'm saying. Has there been a lot of marketing or a sense of like Sarah Silverman's got a new
within Netflix? I mean, when you go to Netflix, it's the main thing that they show you. But I haven't seen billboards around for it. I haven't seen reviews for it.
It's the new way. I mean, Netflix floods the market with programming. They do, and I guess because they expect us to be watching Netflix all the time, it comes up on your what you might like.
Right.
And so you're right.
Your
it's a different
algorithm.
thing. It's not necessarily they're buying. They do buy billboards and things.
But they
can't possibly keep up. They're
targeting it to the people they know will watch it, basically. So if you aren't if you aren't watching comedies or strong female characters or something like that.
That's it. I miss sort of being exposed to. I'm beginning to feel that I am living in a bubble.
We're slave to the algorithm.
Slave to the bubble.
Slave to the algorithm.
Yes.
Thank you.
It
takes a minute to land.
I'm sorry. I rode right over that.
I said it twice because I will not be ridden over.
Can we say it one more time?
Slave to the algorithm.
It performs well on the mouth.
Bubble.
So it's good. Oh, thank you for incorporating my. I think that's a hit song.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, that's Sarah Silverman.
That's all I got. Sorry.
Streaming on Netflix. Okay. Well, I got to put on my glasses because, number 8.
Number 8.
Oh my gosh, does that bring back memories?
Adam West died this week. Or the weekend.
Never thought it would happen. I thought he would literally be one of those 145-year-old people. Like, I never thought he would go.
You know, I have to unburden myself here. Like, when I saw the Batman, the TV show, it changed my life. I was 6 years old, and I was like, oh, I get it. There's something in this world for me.
That's wonderful.
The pop artiness of it, the camp factor, the
men in tights.
Men in tights.
Yes, and
he Robin's scaly green underwear, which I had a little doll, and I tried to scrape it off, even at the innocent age of 6.
And he was so handsome. He was, and they were
both of them.
Yeah, yes. they were obviously
very
gay men,
very sexy. I mean, well, the capes, the satin capes. I mean. It's hard. Like every now and then I recapture a little squeak of what it felt like when I first saw it. Because again, it was one of the first color shows, and color TV was just happening. And I remember seeing it in color. And my parents I got so excited in a way I couldn't articulate. My parents banned me from watching it.
Really?
I was not allowed to watch it anymore. It was too stimulating. And this was a time when there was a fear of color television, that it was bad for you, that you shouldn't sit too close to the TV, and that color TV was overstimulating. And I couldn't explain. It wasn't the color, honey. It was the two men's, the two hot men.
It's funny because Adam West's body in that, if you look at it now, it's like the definition of dad bod.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why dad bods turn me on so much, because Batman turned me on that much.
And the outfits were so sexy. But here's the thing. Here's my issue, is that I feel that TV show has been given such a bad rap historically. I feel people say, oh, it's the camp fun. They sort of blow it off as if it wasn't incredibly serious. And you see, that's what I think. People often think camp is just some sort of guilty pleasure, some sort of ephemeral
or
trash.
easy.
But I think it was a profoundly important show in terms of what it was doing. And actually,
And
I have an issue with the superheroes of our time being all realistic, psychologically tortured, because let's face it, it is a ridiculous idea that you are in a cape with your underwear on. It's a ridiculous idea.
And people no longer recognize me. Now they recognize me. Now they don't. It's like
so to try and make it serious is high ridiculousness. And the TV series and Adam West, it wasn't just the series, it was Adam West playing Batman. He got it so completely. He always delivered it in a deadpan way. That was really serious. That was really subversive. That was really pop art. It wasn't the trivial thing. And everyone thinks that the Keaton...
Michael Keaton.
Right.
Michael Keaton.
No, the one since.
Val Kilmer.
But
Clooney.
I'll tell you something.
I
I was reading about Adam West last night, about how the show only lasted 3 seasons, and it came out with a bang, and then it sort of ended with a whimper.
Everybody in Hollywood wanted to be on it.
Yes, but then immediately he was sort of a persona non grata in Hollywood, and everyone sort of denigrated the show and sort of was embarrassed of it and everything like that. But it was so of its time. It was so 1966. It helped define the 60s that by the time 1972 came along, it could not be as relevant as it was in 1966, and it had to go through that period before it was, accepted again.
I don't think it has been really accepted or appreciated again, and I think that actually the Adam West piece of the story is that was a potentially tragic life, in the sense that, like that giant bomb he's stuck with in the movie. In the movie, there's a great scene.
He runs with the big bomb over his head.
He's got a huge bomb, sort of archetypal bomb thing, and he can't throw it anywhere because
there's kids.
There's kids.
There's little ducks.
Exactly.
Nuns, yes.
And of course, that ended up being the metaphor of his career.
No,
he couldn't escape.
No, but in
Batman.
the end, he did, because he had that wonderful 15-year run on Family Guy,
yes.
in which he
Playing
was
himself,
playing
right?
himself, in which he was adored and beloved
And he
again.
embraced it.
So it did sort of come around full circle for him. And I think in the end, he always did say that he was thankful for the role, and that
he graciously embraced it.
He embraced it, and he
But
loved it.
Others would act victimized and would have drug problems and would have and
he went through that period, but he came out of it.
Yes,
and
he did.
I just have to give a shout out to my brother, totally straight then, totally straight now, who loved Batman more than himself. And the family joke always is that he would beg my sister, who's 2 years younger, to borrow her blue tights so he could put on his Batman outfit. And she goes, "You stretch him out."
I do want to point out that we put on the WoW Report yesterday.
Yeah.
There was a World of Wonder show in the 90s called TV Pizza with Laura Keitlinger.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And she interviewed Bruce. She interviewed Adam West. She interviewed Adam West, and he told this wonderful story about going to an orgy in the Hollywood Hills with Frank Gorshin, and they both break into the Batman and Riddler characters, and they're asked to leave the orgy because they aren't being serious.
They're ruining
enough.
it with their Batman.
Yes.
I read that.
And it's absolutely fantastic. So if you get a chance, watch it on the WoW Report.
Adam West passed away in Los Angeles June 9th, 2017, following a brief battle with leukemia. He was 88, and we will miss him.
Yes.
Time to take a quick break.
Okay.
Time for our first trivia question.
All right. We're ready?
Who was the first ever superhero? Find out when we return. You're listening to the WoW Report on Radio Andy, Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders WoW Report.
Welcome back to the WoW Report, our countdown of the top 10 things that made us go
Wow!
this past week. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined as usual by the marvelous Tom Campbell.
Oh, thank you.
And the gorgeous James St. James. And over there is our millennial producer, Blake.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Blake.
So before the break, the question was, because Adam West sadly passed away, the Batman, if you will, the question was, who was the first ever superhero? I had no idea.
Oh.
Who was the first ever superhero?
Well, obviously it was Superman back in 1939, but before that there was probably like maybe The Shadow or Dick Tracy or anything. But I have to say it's Superman.
I'm gonna be wrong probably and say Superman as well.
Well, you are both wrong. Ooh. The first superhero debuted in 1934, which is 4 years before Superman.
Okay.
And his name was Mandrake the Magician.
Oh, I loved Mandrake the Magician.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd never heard of him.
Mandrake,
right?
Mandrake.
Well,
It was a Sunday morning cartoon strip,
Right.
and it ran until I guess the 80s is what I'm thinking.
Oh, really?
It was very much in the vein of Dick Tracy and Dondi. Remember Dondi?
Yes.
Yeah, and they were all sort of like at the same time. But
Okay.
what was
his-
I would actually call Mandrake a superhero?
Well, he had a
Powers?
superpower. What was it?
Well, he was magic.
Well, his superpower was the ability to make people believe anything simply by gesturing hypnotically.
Oh, okay.
I'm thin and young.
Ooh. Okay, number 7, Tom.
Number 7.
All right. I'm gonna do a reading, if you will.
A reading?
Because
literally the whole piece is going to be a reading?
I'm going to do a lot of a reading, and it's from online. It's Maureen Callahan, who writes for Page 6, and it's about last weekend's Goop convention that Gwyneth Paltrow had. Now, I don't know Gwyneth. I've never been to the convention. If you went and you liked it, please tweet me your response. But this
Or just fast forward away from this
Yes.
because it's going to be a little triggering
because the
for you.
title is Exasperated Attendees Give Up on Gwyneth's Goop Summit. And feel free to interject your thoughts. Gwyneth Paltrow's inaugural health and wellness summer on Saturday kicked off just as you expect. Well-groomed women wearing yoga pants and expensive handbags, hooking themselves up to IVs and oxygen tubes in a parking lot. Experiences otherwise associated with the glamour of getting triaged at a disaster site. This is Paltrow's peculiar gift or grift.
Say that triage one more.
Oh, yeah, you turned away from the mic.
I'm sorry. Experiences otherwise associated with the glamour of getting triaged at a disaster site.
That's really good.
Right. This is Paltrow's peculiar gift or grift, and it was on full display in Goop Health. Her day-long event meant to bring her website's most requested and shared wellness content to life. By last week, all 500 tickets, ranging from $500 to $1,500, had sold out. Another event is planned in New York in January, in case this entices you.
$1,500 for one day?
Yes. She introduced her first speaker, Dr. Habib Sadeji, forgive me, on cosmic flow by explaining her own interest in wellness, or in her parlance, healing modalities.
I love that.
I love a healing modality.
modality.
It's like she has a drag speak of her own, right? And it began in 1998 when she said after her beloved father was diagnosed with cancer, and given her brand's origin story, it seems naive at best, craven at worst, for Paltrow to commodify junk science and dangerous information. Even the affable, she was on Jimmy Kimmel. Did you see this?
Yes, okay, yes.
And he asked her, what is earthing? Because it's a big thing on her site.
Yeah, what?
And she said, I don't really know anything much about earthing.
Well, it's the act of it's walking
Is it barefoot?
right?
Is
Basically.
that a thing?
She goes, there's this type of electromagnetic thing that we're missing out on. It's good to take your shoes off and walk in grass, and I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
So basically, she has no idea what any
No.
of these things
So-
are on Goop.
It's because she sort of presents a lot of this stuff as science, right? And it's like,
Yeah, is it fake science? Is it just as
Right.
bad to say the earth is
Yes.
flat as to say, and the other thing was
Healing
modalities.
modalities.
He asked her about these jade eggs, which are very famous, that you're supposed to put into your vagina to
JJ.
build the vaginal floor or something. And Kimmel said, is that something you believe in? And she said, I don't know. I never read that before. And she claimed on the thing, because it's a tape, you can watch it, we'll put it on the Wow Report. But she's like, I'm there every day. And he at one point said, what do you do there every day?
She's a student, right? She does have the self-deprecating awareness to know that she's a journeyer as well,
yes,
right?
but you're selling stuff in your name. It's
This is a little different.
So then,
right?
in the day's first lecture, I'm sorry again. In the day's first lecture, Sadeghi, I'm just getting his name wrong, spoke for nearly 90 minutes about integrative photosynthesis, spiritual Wi-Fi, laterality to the body, vegetative science, and the ontological experience called your life.
Could you explain what is the ontological?
She needs a gobbledygook is what it is.
Gobbledygook. That is like a parody site that you'll make $1 million on.
Do that right now.
He went on to he went on to with some interesting tangents. The doctor went on to mention some interesting
Tangents.
The doctor went on to express some interesting tangents. Yes. What makes water wet? He asked more than once. I nearly got a master's in electric chemistry asking that question.
What does make water wet? Come on, you guys. That is a valid...
See, this does sort of feel very Fenton to me. I can see you coming up with all of that.
I love California because does open your mind to different things, but this seems, it's so commodified. So about 50 women, they say, mostly exasperated, streamed out during his lecture, and it's not hard to see why. By middle age, most everyone had experience with catastrophic illness, and there's no reconciling what he was talking about. And then he plugged his book, and he said, this is not a convention, it's a pilgrimage where we hold on to the light, the consciousness, for a different way of being. So, I mean, there's different languages and ways to sort of get into your thing. They also did a 10-minute facelift where they literally punctured holes in a woman with strings and lifted her face as the audience got nauseous and left. And then this is the last thing. It's bad because there was this summit speak with Cameron Diaz, Nicole Richie, who we know and love, Miranda Kerr, and Tory Burch. And they said that's where most people wanted to be, like with Gwyneth and her pals. And they talked about this panel, and yet the only panel that transfixed the entire crowd, and it clearly was what they came for, the chance to see and hear Paltrow and her peers gush over each other's fabulousness, marvel at how each of them does it all. With no nods to nannies, personal assistants, household staffs, managers, and agents. And reinforce the notion that every woman out there, if only they wish hard enough and buy enough Goop-approved products, can be a member of her clique too, an inhabitant of her world. And there's no denying that Gwyneth Paltrow is on her own planet. Last thing. It's one where those without more pressing concern. And there's no denying that Gwyneth Paltrow is on her own planet. And it's one where those without more pressing And there's no denying that Gwyneth Paltrow is on her own planet. It's one where those without more pressing concerns can leisurely embark on a journey, face obstacles that help them remake paradigms to create more authentic selves that in turn so generously make the world a better place, a more healing place. All right, I read too long. But
no, anytime you mention a paradigm, I'm right there.
Or healing modality.
Healing modalities, yes.
Well, if fecal transplants, grounding slippers, and collagen-laced martinis are for you, get yourself to the next Goop conference,
yes,
right?
Let's
right?
do it.
We're going to post a link to that article on the Wow Report. What is the URL? Just
www.worldofwonder.net.
Thank you. It's so good. Okay. Okay, what have we got at number 6?
Number 6.
Number 6. We have another Netflix documentary that I watched. I know it was one of those weekends. But this one is called Jackie, A Tale of Two Sisters. Which is interesting because it's about Jackie Bouvier Kennedy Onassis and her sister Lee Bouvier Canwell Radziwill. And then she married a director, Herb Ross. Herb Ross, yes. Okay. Anyway, it's the story of these two sisters, and it's funny that it's called Jackie, A Tale of Two Sisters, because at one point it was called Jackie and Lee, A Tale of Two Sisters.
It's really Jackie, right? It's all
but
Jackie.
That's what happened. One of the producers or somebody higher up said, nobody knows who this Lee broad is. Get rid of her. Take her out of the title. And that's sort of the tragedy of this whole story is that it starts off and it's Lee and Jackie as these two pampered little princesses on Park Avenue, and they're growing up together. And Lee is obviously the more dynamic of the two, and she's the prettier one. She's the younger sister. Jackie comes out first in her debutante,
yes.
But Lee's is more exciting, and Lee is more of the fashion horse, and she's the one that everyone is talking about. And she marries first, and she marries the Duke of Kent's illegitimate son.
Get out of here.
Yes, and she moves to England and embarks on this
What? Oh, okay.
She marks on this high society life and everything, and everyone's like, Jackie is like, the old maid,
a photographer, right?
Yes, but everyone is concerned because Jackie isn't married yet, and she's getting a little older, and she's a little dumpy, and nobody quite likes Jackie as much as they do Lee. Well, then of course we get into Jackie's story, and she meets a young up and coming senator, and then she becomes first lady, and then all of this time it's all these really fabulous pictures and footage that you've never seen before. You think you've seen every Jackie O picture that's ever been out there.
I do feel that way.
But this they've got a lot of access to a lot of stuff that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
During the same time, Lee is having an affair with Aristotle Onassis. Okay, which we didn't know that, and that's how he meets Jackie. And then she's having an affair with Prince Stash Radziwill, and she leaves Michael Canfield and marries the prince and becomes Princess Lee Radziwill. Right?
Well, Lee did well then. She got around, right?
She did, but she was very unhappy, and she was sort of by this time, Jackie is Jackie Kennedy,
the legend,
the first lady.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
And she is a little jealous of her sister. And at this point, after Kennedy dies and Bobby Kennedy dies, and Jackie famously says, if they're killing Kennedys, my children are next.
Yes.
And so she marries Aristotle Onassis.
For the protection, for the
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know it. So she married, not love.
No.
Not money.
No.
Just safety.
No, she wanted safety, and she wanted
Get her
that
kids out of
protection
America.
because she only got $20,000 a year is what a widow would get from the government. So she didn't have the money to sustain her lifestyle. So she needed to marry rich, and so she married the richest man in the world, and she took him away from her sister. So the sister is furious, right? But the minute Jackie marries Aristotle, she becomes the most hated woman on the planet. I don't know if you remember this. There was a couple of years there where
she was America's widow.
She was America's widow. She belonged
beloved
to America, and then she left that whole the Kennedy
for this
mystique,
playboy tawdry
toad. He was a toad.
Okay.
He was a really ugly, evil, nasty man who was abusive
Thank goodness
to her.
he's no longer around, so he can't sue.
But then Jackie goes on this the where she just walks into Neiman's and points and says, "I'll take 20 of those in every color."
That's what I want to do.
And she becomes that. She just walks through Saint Tropez and Capri, and she
shopping frenzy,
pointing and shopping. Anyway, and in the meantime. They do this really smart thing at this point when Aristotle dies and she moves back to New York, and that's when Ron Galella started stalking her. Remember, he's the first paparazzi in the world, the biggest paparazzi in the world, and he just goes after. And they bring Ron Galella onto this documentary, and he becomes a talking head. So therefore, they have access to hundreds of never before seen pictures of Jackie during this period, and it is glorious. It is just like Jackie just walking in the store, Jackie in bodegas, Jackie walking.
So watch it for the photos.
Watch it for the photos.
So what's it called again?
It's called Jackie: A Tale of Two Sisters.
Jackie: A Tale of Two Sisters, streaming now on Netflix.
And very quickly though, by the time this happens, I'm sorry, we'll go back and put that on afterwards. We never hear of Lee ever again. Like the last half of it, like poor Lee is just somewhere in Europe, and we never hear from her again. And they don't even bother following up on her life. So,
well, Lee's still with us. If she's listening, we love you, Lee.
We do love you, Lee.
Okay, so moving on to number 5.
Number 5.
I have for you in defense of Katy Perry.
It's been quite a year for Katy Perry.
There's a Katy Perry picture. Yay. In defense of Katy Perry. I mean, Katy Perry has a new album, Witness, which isn't doing that well. Sort of mixed reception. But what's fascinating is the campaign to promote the album. And at this point, I have to say, I think that really there's no distinction. We don't need to make a distinction between the art, the record, and the promotion, which is this incredible live streaming event, Worldwide Witness, she did on YouTube.
To your point, it all becomes content.
It's
It's
all
entertainment.
Exactly. And I thought, I don't know if anybody saw it, but I thought it was absolutely fascinating. She locks herself up in a sort of Big Brother type house, and then she invites people into the house and streamed for something like 90 hours, which culminated in her performing the new album live downtown LA. And at the end of that, that's the end of it. But it's this sort of 90-hour binge experience of Katy in a Big Brother situation. It's really interesting because she fills up her time. She brings in James Corden comes in, and Gordon Ramsay comes in, and they do a cooking segment. RuPaul came in before on his way to the Resist March. And the most fascinating piece I found was that she had a shrink come in. Dr. Siri Singh came in, and she did a session. And well, I don't quite know what to say, but it was sort of, on the one hand, the whole thing was incredibly panoptic. You know, it was like this sort of 360, all Katy, all the time experience. One.
Very Warholian.
Very Warholian. Yep. On the other hand, it was very studied. You know, it's Katy Perry in a Big Brother house doing segments from other types of TV shows. That's not a critique. I just thought it was very interesting that that's how it was structured. And then the nub of this issue with the shrink was Katy Perry, the pop star, versus Katherine Hudson, the person. And the cynic in me, of course, was like, well, of course she would go there, and how horrible it is, and how difficult it is to be a pop star under this insane lens of scrutiny. So I wasn't necessarily the best listener of that, but I was compelled, and I was sort of moved.
It's
and
getting a lot of attention. Everyone's writing about
really
it. I've
interesting.
seen bits and pieces. You think about today's technology. It's like Madonna did Truth or Dare. Yes. It was a documentary. It had to be shot. The film had to be developed. It had to be edited together.
Right.
And now we live in this instant gratification social media world. Multiple cameras. It's all affordable. It's all doable.
Right.
So she just lives out there. It's what's different than that, in a way, than Madonna going to her mother's grave and rolling around on it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Nothing is different. Exactly.
Except the sort of the mode of reality television.
And I feel my natural reaction to sort of lash out and be cynical or negative, I sort of check that, and I think, well, we're all living on camera now, darling.
I mean, the other thing, and this is that pop stars, no one could have been bigger than Katy Perry. Katy Perry's...
I didn't realize she's the most followed person on Twitter. At 99 million.
But they do say that half of those are bots.
Oh, well, who cares?
Everybody buys
Bot
it.
or not.
But California Dream, it's like teenage. It's like that had more #1 singles or the same as Michael Jackson. I mean, and they at some point you have to have an album that doesn't do as well, or a period where you're changing your mode. And the fact that she's having this kind of like, I don't know, kind of in front of her eyes, this cocoon bursting butterfly moment.
Right.
I'm really kind of more fascinated now to see what she'll do next. And listen, not every album can sell more than the last album. That's crazy.
And what I found so exciting about it is the sense that it doesn't just have to be an album. Why can't it be this thing that can exist in all these different dimensions?
Very well.
I tell you, one of the funny things about the show was that she was doing the album, and whatever, her sequin pants split, and that was cute, because it was the real thing. That the mistakes are always like what actually makes you like something, which is weird because it used to be about excellence, and now it's about things going wrong. But there was this hideous big thing on the stage. And I was like, what on earth is that? I was like, was it air conditioning for Katy because it was a sunny day? I don't know. And at the end, she says, oh, shall we pull the plug? Because you realize she's been on air streaming for like 90 hours. And you realize it's a giant plug plugged into the stage. Very kind of cheesy, actually. But kind of cheesy but cute.
Kind of the Katy Perry brand, right?
It was sort of a little bit childish, but sort of sweet. And she goes and pulls this massive plug out of the ground, and that was the end of it.
She's also going to be, she's the first announced judge on American Idol. She's getting tons of money. It's kind of an interesting next step for her, so it'll be fun to watch Katy Perry out of her bubble.
Yes, but in a new bubble.
Yes.
We're all in a bubble.
That's right.
Well, we have to take a quick commercial break. Here's our question.
Okay.
Katy Perry's album, Teenage Dream, had the most singles reach #1 of any album. Who else pulled that off? And what were the names of the number one singles?
What?
Yes.
This is a lot of work.
Okay, guys. Well, you've got the commercial break. This is the Wow Report. Radio Andy, SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We are counting down top 10 things that made us go wow this week. I'm here with Tom Campbell, James St. James, Blake Jacobs.
Hi.
Behind the cameras now, Blake.
And, okay, so the question was, Katy Perry's Teenage Daydream album had 5 number one singles, which was the most number one singles from an album ever, except for one other artist.
I think the other artist is Michael Jackson.
Sure. Yes.
And I think then what other Katy Perry ones? 5 number ones?
No, the Michael Jackson one.
Wait,
Oh.
Didn't Gaga have, didn't she come awfully close? Didn't she have 5 too?
Fenton's questions are never wrong.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Wikipedia says.
Darling, I apologize.
Michael Jackson's number ones were
Thriller.
okay, Billie
PYT.
Jean.
No. From the Bad album, you see.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, yes. That was the album
Okay.
Bad. More
Then
than Thriller.
I Just Can't Stop Loving You was
Yes,
the first one.
yes.
And then it was
I'm
Bad.
looking at the man in the mirror.
Yeah, in the mirror. It's
Dirty
The Way
Diana.
They Make Me Feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dirty Diana.
Yes.
And Dirty Diana.
Oh, my God.
That's our era.
And, did
And
you do-
Liberian Girl.
No, it was
Oh,
bad.
we already got
It was
to 5.
bad.
What? Oh.
Bad.
Bad,
I said
bad.
I said bad. Well done.
Okay, very good.
We did it.
Okay, so number 4.
Number 4.
I think we, as reality television producers, need to discuss in a sober way this whole controversy
show.
around Bachelor in Paradise. Bachelor in Paradise has gone to hell. Literally.
What happened?
Well, there's Bachelor, the show. I never watched. That's a huge hit on ABC.
I never watched it either.
And in the last 4 seasons, they take the leftover star cast and they send them to Puerto Vallarta, to Paradise, where I think they drink and make out and yell at each other.
But is there a winning kind of...
I don't think it's a competition. I think it's just sloppiness. So this over the weekend, Warner Brothers announced they were pulling the plug, Katy Perry, on the production in the middle, which we know is an extreme thing to do.
It is,
Someone's
right?
losing a lot of money. And it was because 2 of the contestants, who I don't know, Demario Jackson, who's a guy, and Corinne Olympias, who America knows, but I don't, Demario supposedly had sexual relations with Corinne when she was blackout drunk, and that they filmed it, and that the next day someone in the production reached out to Warner Brothers and said, "This happened."
I think something
without her
might be
consent."
wrong here. I think we did something wrong. I mean, why would you not stand up? Why did nobody say she's blackout drunk? Why are we doing this? Stop right now. Why did they film it? And it took 24 hours before somebody said, I don't feel right about that. What?
I can imagine.
Come on,
people. I can imagine. Again, we produce reality television, not this kind of reality television, to be clear. But I do think whenever you deal with people who are real and have emotions and flaws, and you produce them and you're bringing them into a production, you have a responsibility to them.
You do, right?
And at the same time, you can't control every aspect.
But
of
if you're
things.
watching
Right.
someone have sex with someone who's blackout drunk, right there's a lot of moral lines that you're
Right.
crossing.
Well, but for the sake of argument,
Yes.
and, for the sake of argument, you can be blackout drunk and you can be speaking. You can
I
be
don't know that we
You can
want
be
it.
driving your
functioning.
car.
No, I mean, have you never had a blackout where you're like, I don't know how I got home?
No.
Oh,
I don't know how I
Well,
got
you're
here.
purer than moi. I've had a few.
Or you were into uppers. I don't know. One or the other.
That's it right there. You know me too well.
Yeah, I know
mean,
me too well.
I think it's a slight misapprehension that because you're blackout drunk, you are just comatose, lying, incapable of standing. You can impersonate functionality in a blackout state. That's
But if
that was
somebody
my
was
point.
impersonating functionality,
Yeah.
then how did the people know that they had witnessed a blackout drunk?
Of course. And listen, there is videotape
course.
that may come out, but I think
In fact, Niall or the guy has hired an attorney and said
Yes,
he
tomorrow.
wants the tapes to come out because it will prove that he was not raping this woman.
But all I'm saying is when the subject matter, when the drama of your show is to basically have people drink and canoodle, where is it easy to determine she's drunk, she's really drunk, she's blackout drunk? The tape may tell us, but it may not. And it may be this weird where you're in the mode of shooting and letting things happen and not interfering as producers. I'm not defending it. It's a blurry line. It's an interesting time in reality television. And there is...
I think it's an interesting time in morality right now where that can happen, and that you have an entire crew sitting around watching, and people are so morally fuzzy that they don't know whether or not to stop it.
Well, what about the cast? I mean, it seems like it was witnessed. It wasn't like they were. If
everybody is standing around watching these people have sex, then you're having a moral problem anyway with the production. If you have it's just sort of disgusting
and yet
all
it
around.
Sounds like it's kind of inherent to the show,
right?
Like,
there's been articles like in the New York Times saying, "Isn't this just an inevitability? At some point, this line would be crossed."
It's inherent to America that we find this exciting and titillating to watch these people get drunk and have sex. It's sort of disgusting, and I'm sorry. And I know you wouldn't expect James St. James to take this point of view.
More will be revealed. The tape's going to come out. This is a story we're all going to be paying attention to.
Who knew? I feel far more comfortable talking about Donald Trump. Okay, well, actually, speaking of blackouts, what have we got? James.
Really good. Oh my God.
Number 3.
We have a documentary called Blackout.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It was originally a PBS.
How much is Netflix paying you?
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. Please don't shame me for it.
No, you do. You find great stuff. You find great stuff.
Okay. It was originally on PBS. It was one of their American experiences. Mm-hmm. It's the short one. It's only 49 minutes long.
I'm in.
Yeah, it's really good. It's about the blackout that hit New York City on July 13th, 1977.
I remember.
It was during a thunderstorm. It was during one of the biggest heat waves that New York City had ever experienced.
It was also during Charlie's Angels because I was watching it. And the television went black. Okay, I'll shut up.
That's hysterical. It's interesting because the power grid was there was one guy in charge of all 4 boroughs, and he was
just sitting in his chair.
And the power grid itself was sort of wonky. It was overburdened, and because it was during this heat wave, and they kept saying to him, "You've got to start putting rolling blackouts. You've got to black out somewhere," and he wouldn't do it. And it kept getting more and more overburdened until the blackout happened. And when that happened, for the first hour, everybody was just sort of looking around like what's going on, and then all of a sudden, boom. The city erupted, and instantly there were riots. There was looting. Instantly, the city just erupted, and there were riots, and there was looting, and the city just they burned the motherfucker down. If you remember that was like, let the motherfucker burn was sort of when that chant started happening. There were a confluence of factors that the reason why this was going on. There was really high unemployment at that time. Yep. There was a really high crime rate. 3,000 policemen had just been laid off. 2,000 firemen had just been laid off, so they were at bare bones. Yeah. If you probably remember this, where the city declared bankruptcy and asked for federal bailout.
Yeah, New York was in bad shape.
They were in really
70s.
bad shape, and they asked President Ford for help, and Ford famously said no. And there's that famous New York Post headline that says, "Ford to New York, drop dead."
Yes.
Right. And so, and also during this time, like the Bronx and Harlem and stuff like that, there was a big arson fad where everyone just was to have fun, and people would go out and burn a building down, and that was landlords would recoup their losses and everything.
Sure, it wasn't Trump like doing some real estate scam.
So there was like I said, people were just burning the city down.
Favorite detail of mine was like housewives went out looting, and they had so much stuff they tied shopping carts together with pantyhose to create a convoy of shopping carts loaded with stolen goods.
But it was everybody was looting. It was grandmothers. It was young kids. It was like schoolboys and choir boys were out there. Everybody just went absolutely bananas.
It was like Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Everyone just wanted the bargains.
And it was mom and pop stores. They'd been around for 40 years, and they were beloved in the neighborhood. And people would just like push them them aside and took everything. One of the interesting things was one of the reasons why things got so bad so quick was that the police were told to report to the precinct closest to where they were, not to the precinct where they worked. Okay, to just go
so
wherever
there was
they
no
could go.
community.
Exactly. Well, because
policing.
not many policemen lived in these high crime rates in the Bronx and things like that. So they were short-staffed. They had like one or two policemen. Where all of a sudden, like out in like some nice suburb, like they had like 100 policemen. Yeah. So it was very interesting. It's really a fascinating
great.
thing.
It's really great.
It's basically a documentary that shows how thin the veneer of civilization really is, and at any given moment, we could all just be plunged into the dark ages.
An earthquake, a blackout.
Exactly.
And I'm simplifying it, but I also think the heat has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Because the riots in LA happened during a heat wave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So people get frustrated.
It's interesting.
There was a detail of like there were people trapped in windows on the world in the old World Trade Center, and there was this sort of contrast between sort of penthouse and pavement, right? So windows on the world, they were cracking open bottles of champagne,
and
having a party, and it was the elites having a lovely time, and down in the subway is death and destruction.
It's interesting because we moved to New York in the mid '80s or early to mid '80s, and New York still hadn't recovered. There were large swaths of like the East Village and the Bronx and Harlem where stores still hadn't reopened. I mean, it really decimated the city for a decade to come because people just would not go back afterwards. They were so destroyed by what happened.
And you should have bought those burnt out buildings. Then you'd be rich today.
It's true. It's true.
You can check out the documentary Blackout on the American Experience on Netflix. It's great. I mean, actually, parts of LA haven't recovered still from the LA riots.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So number two. I went to see The Mummy.
Oh, for the love of corn!
Tom
Why would you
Cruise.
do
With
that?
Tom Cruise.
Why?
Well, Nolan wanted to see it, and I have to admit, my son, I am a little bit of an addict for Egyptological.
Sure.
I love, gateways and pyramids and.
But this has nothing to do with any of that, does it? They just made up the whole thing. There's nothing.
Oh, well, it's all made up, yes. But it's sort of, I just love that world. I mean, the Egyptians were crazy, right?
Yes.
And they had strange powers, and the whole thing is a little weird.
And they loved cats.
And yes. Kitty cats. And but the first 20, 30 minutes is fantastic. I have to tell you, it looks beautiful. And I love a false beginning. And, you're in the subway in London, and they discover a medieval tomb. So you've got the Templar Knights. I mean, it's like all that conspiracy stuff. I love it. And then it just goes completely off the rails and insane. And
It's just a CGI fest, isn't it?
It's a CGI fest. I mean, the special effects are really good. And then there's a sort of critique of Tom Cruise's performance because I think at this point he has become sort of... He plays himself. I mean, a lot of actors just play themselves in movies.
Sure.
So
Betty
that's
Davis.
no crime. But it sort of feels that he's sort of playing some version, some sort of ersatz facsimile.
Well, he's still playing. He still wants us to believe that he's 25 years old and
Right.
he's 56, right? 54 or something like that.
What movie star doesn't have that? I don't know. Something
It's sad.
is
There's
weird.
something sad and weird about
I'll tell you
him.
the saddest bit, though, is when Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde appear, Russell Crowe. It's like Marlon Brando or something.
Someone did say that he's in the flabby end of his career, the self-loathing Marlon Brando-esque era. What they're doing, I know they're trying to build up this alternate universe.
That, to me, is the problem. You've got a great movie about a mummy, and suddenly you've got to bring in Jekyll and Hyde, and you've got to...
And they're going to bring in Frankenstein and Dracula.
It's Universal. It's all of their
it's
franchises.
the
Marvel comic it up.
It's the dark universe. They're creating the dark universe. It just feels forced. It feels like too much of a good thing, and it ends up being a really bad thing. It's really awful. It is awful.
Did Tom Cruise do any promotion for this? I don't think I've seen him on a talk show or doing anything.
No, I think he's beyond that point.
But we might be
now.
in the bubble. I mean,
I think
know.
after the couch incidents and some of the
they showed a trailer for his film. I forget the title, where he's playing the pilot for a drug lord. It looks really good. The
Okay.
trailer for that next.
Well,
and I'm not a Tom Cruise fan.
But does he have?
The next
Is
movie
he at
looks
the
really
end of his
good.
career where at this point, where every time there's a Tom Cruise movie on, everybody sort of gives a collective groan and like
He used to have such, years ago, but he used to do sort of like an action adventure film and then something either comedic or arty. He used
But
to
he
go
doesn't
back and
do
forth.
that anymore.
Now he's just like made for Chinese theater,
Yeah.
like big blockbuster. Doesn't really matter what the plot is.
And why do we hate him so much for that? Because, okay,
No,
so
we
he
hate him
jumped
so
on a
much.
couch. It's not like he did Mel Gibson. Come on.
No, we hate him because of the creepy Scientology thing, where he keeps using these women that he has no interest in ever touching, but he keeps marrying them.
Right.
And we know that there's something creepy going on between the Scientology and the sexuality, and it's starting to bleed forth in every aspect of his life. And just looking at him gives you the willies.
It doesn't
Gives
give
you
me the willies.
I get the collywobbles.
Call Leah Remini. She'll explain to you.
When
She'll
you
explain
get the
to you.
collywobbles, what do you feel? Like, what is a collywobble?
You were the one who taught me what a collywobble is. It's a British term, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
It's
The
a
Mummy
little
is
collywobbles.
currently in theaters nationwide, probably not for long.
Yeah.
Oh, good news, though.
home.
Bride of Frankenstein coming in 2019.
Starring whom?
From Bill Condon. I don't know who's in it.
Okay.
Bill Condon's directed. James.
We do love.
We love
I'm
Bill
bleeding.
Clinton.
I'm sorry.
We have to take a quick break while James gets first aid. And when we come back, we'll reveal the Resistor of the Week and the number one thing that made us go,
Wow.
Oh, you really are Oh. This is the Wow Report on Radio Addy SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Okay, we're back, and you're listening to the Wow Report, Radio Andy, and hey, we've reached that number one moment.
Oh my God!
It goes
I
by
know.
so fast.
It really does.
It flies.
Number one.
Number one this week is Tom.
Oliver Stone has done 4 exclusive interviews with Putin, 2 of which I've seen. Oliver's been on a media tour with Stephen Colbert and Sirius Morning News, and it hurts my head. I'm not quite sure what to do with all of it.
Are you going to watch the other 2 hours? Are you going to go the full 4 hours?
I've read.
Don't you give him your eyeballs? Don't. It's just.
James has gotten so strident.
I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
conservative.
He's our moral center.
What has happened?
I know.
I'm sorry. No, but
Club
he's
kids-
normalizing an authoritarian. In this day and age, we should not be allowing the journalists to do that.
He's not a journalist.
Well, we should not be allowing anybody to make Putin into a folk hero.
But aren't you interested, for the sake of argument, just to spend 4 hours with Putin?
No,
to see...
I don't need to spend 4 hours with Putin any more than I need to spend 4 hours with Donald Trump, any more than I need to spend it with Manuel Noriega or the Ayatollah Khomeini. No, I don't need to do this. He's a horrible man, and you're giving him breath and life and eyeballs and Nielsen ratings.
Just background that Oliver Stone shot over
20 hours,
years.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes,
before the election, before Russiagate and all that kind of stuff.
But while he's still killing homosexuals and shutting down free
Absolutely.
speech.
And he's in this place where he's being really nice to Putin, really differential. He seems
Kissing ass is what he's doing.
okay. He seems like a jet lag Barbara Walters. Like he's not
Yes,
following through.
There was this slightly sort of slumpy sort of manner. Of
He
like,
says at one point, like, I'm so tired. I'm
Right.
doing everything. And Putin's kind of like, all right, I'll take advantage of you. And I love Barbara Walters to defend her to my death because Barbara was, she was doing celebrity interviews for the most part. And she would just really cuddle up to people and really make them warm. And then they
make
would
them
say
comfy.
something.
And then they'd reveal themselves.
They'd reveal something.
I killed so-and-so.
But there's a difference between doing that with
I agree, with Glenn
Catherine
Close.
Hepburn and asking her what kind of tree she is, and then giving fucking Putin
I don't disagree. And
4 hours.
I can only watch 2. You have to pay real attention because one of the things Oliver Stone did is he doesn't have a translator for Putin. He just does subtitles. So I know it sounds crazy, but you can't multitask. You have to watch. So Putin, and they cut it. So Oliver asked the question in English, and then you don't hear the translation to Putin, and then you see his answer. But I couldn't. I've only seen 2, and then I was trying to go online to find out what's going on with the rest of them. And people say that he redeems himself, Oliver Stone, in the 4th one. But geez Louise.
But you've given him three
I don't
episodes.
know that I can continue watching. And why didn't Showtime? I guess there's there's programming minds that are smarter than mine. Showtime's open.
I'm glad you
right
said
now.
that.
I disagree. But, is that why don't they just dump it? Why don't you see all 4? Because
That's a good idea.
I don't understand why I'm being forced to go at 9 o'clock and watch.
Well, like James isn't going to love me for saying this, but you can watch for yourself. You can see for yourself on Showtime, and Showtime is free this month. They're offering a free special for people.
Goodbye Netflix, hello Showtime.
Yes,
no, I know. In fact, I'm boycotting Showtime from now on for allowing this twaddle to continue.
They are trying to offset the promotion that you've given Netflix. They need to compete. So Showtime's giving a free month.
Well, what next? Are we going to give Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway like their own musicals? Or I mean, what? I mean,
that I would be interested to see.
I don't know. I don't find. I'm sorry.
I think you have a point. I'm just spilling the facts. There's part of me that's sickened by the whole thing. That feels like it's a missed opportunity.
Right. Yes.
And I'm wondering what that 4th hour is, and I might peek in on it eventually. I don't know.
Let's move on to the Resistor of the Week. James St. James is Resistor of the Week.
You're darn tootin'.
Resisting everything we've been saying all hour.
Am I? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be
This is good. This is a good conversation.
You are right.
Okay.
You are right.
Well,
but do you want to reveal the Resistor of the Week?
Our Resistor of the Week is the Babadook.
Yes.
Which is the oddest thing that out of the blue he has become this LGBT ally.
I never saw the movie.
Please break it down for me.
Yes,
I don't
it needs
understand.
explaining, right?
It started off as a joke because Netflix, in all their wisdom, you know how they have their thing like, if you liked the comeback, you're gonna love Friends type thing. And for some reason, they put if you like LGBT movies or something like that.
Well, there's a category LGBT.
LGBT film. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a category LGBT films, and they put the Babadook in there.
But who is the Babadook?
Yes.
The Babadook it's a horror movie from 2014.
Australian. It's an Australian horror movie. But he's such a weird horror character. He comes out of the book, right?
Yes.
He's very low tech, and he comes out of children's books.
Yes.
Manifests off the pages. So that's good because it makes kids read or not. All right. Maybe.
I've tried to read articles about this, and I stop halfway through because I get so bored.
Well, I do have something to add, which is that before... That Netflix thing was photoshopped. That's fake news. And it was in reaction to a guy called Ian, Instagram on Tumblr, who jokingly questioned the sexuality of the character. He's 24 from Boston, and he's a Drag Race fan. Ian, Instagram. Well, he's really funny. His tagline is "Hello, darkness, my old frenemy." Isn't that good?
He's good.
And
but the upshot of this
work for us here.
I know exactly. Call him after the show.
The upshot of all of this is that at every gay pride march across the country, there were thousands of Babadooks there, and everybody dressed in fashionable Babadook outfits and fabulous. And he just has become one of the great allies.
So that's why he's a resistor. He's an ally to the LGBT movement here.
I'm going to give the last word here to Claire Schaefer from Newsweek, who wrote that Babadook is an allegory for how normative heterosexual culture reacts to a confrontation with abnormal queer culture, particularly one that is unabashedly campy and theatrical.
Well, if that isn't overthinking it, and if that isn't right up our alley, I don't know what is.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Watch Andy Cohen's Then and Now, World of Wonder show, on Wednesdays, 10 p.m. on Bravo. Then Thursday, it's $1 Million Listings, New York at 9 p.m.
And this Friday, reunion of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 9. We have a top 4, and all the queens come back to hash it out. And I had to say it. It's probably the best reunion we've ever had.
I've heard really good things about this.
Watch the reunion.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report on Radio Andy SiriusXM. Listen anytime on the Sirius Radio app or watch anytime on the Wow Report. Hey, see you the same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go, wow!